Virginia City, in Nevada territory, came the miners, some to live and some to die, where the gold and silver...
Hello, this is Joe Curtis from Virginia City again with Virginia City Truth, No Myths. So we're here at the cemetery today, and I thought I'd like to give you some information a little bit about some myths that come about that we're constantly trying to clarify for everyone. And that being, if you were to come to Virginia City and take one of the tours that are around, maybe the tram that goes around town, or if you were talking with one of the bartenders maybe, or you'd be talking with the waitress that's waiting on you at the restaurant, or one of those situations, they might tell you about how there was a place called Millionaires Row, and they will tell you about the famous Washoe Club, and that there were 150 millionaires in Virginia City. So I thought it'd be a good idea to try to clarify that particular one. In reality, over the period of time from about 1860 up through 1890, there were really only about 13 millionaires that actually made millions on the Comstock. There were 6 others that got their start here from making their initial $1 million, and they would make it, of course, from the mines and mostly from investments in the mining operations, not necessarily being mine owners. For example, several of the individuals, there was our Nevada State Senator, John P. Jones, not the same guy that was on that famous ship in the early days of the country. And there was another fellow by the name of William Sharon. You may have read about William Sharon. He was the cashier for the Bank of California, along with a man by the name of William Ralston, who owned the Bank of California, located in the Oakland, California area. And then there was also Darius Ogden Mills. He was another one that made money directly from the Crown Point Belcher mine, involvement with them in ownership and investment. Vince Hayward, for example, was one of the individuals that did make eventually millions. He's also the founder of Hayward, California. And then when you go look at one of the other mines, the Con Virginia, or referred to actually the Consolidated Virginia in California, there was John Mackey, which I'm sure you've heard of Mackey, Fair, Flood, and O'Brien. That was the 4 guys that really were involved in a lot of the major operations on the Comstock. Then there was an individual that you've obviously never heard of, general. He was a Civil War general, Thomas Williams. Another fellow by the name of David Bixler and Edward Barron. And then there was Robert Graves. He was another Civil War general, and his mansion still exists on the Comstock today, and we know it as the Castle or the Graves Mansion, which is up on B Street, the south end of B. Boy Street. And they used to do tours in the mansion, and it's all still like it was from the 1800s. Several other individuals, such as George Hearst, the Hearst newspaper chain, and some other fellows here, again, you probably have never heard of, that also got starts on their $1 million, was John Earl and fellow Robert Morrow, Mr. Head, A.B. McCreary, and Charles N. Felon. And these fellas also made a lot of their money by investing and being involved with many of the mines on the Comstock. So one of the things that you hear about is there was a Millionaires Club. Well, there was no Millionaires Club per se. There was no Millionaires Row, as is indicated by a lot of these folks that will tell you there was Millionaires Row. That information actually started in about 1959, 1960, in that period of time, when it was important to start really making marketing information so that the Virginia City area would start to build up a tourism function after the Bonanza TV show came on television in 1959. What they're referring to is an organization that was known as the Washoe Club. And originally the Washoe Club was located in a building that would have been between Piper's Opera House and the courthouse as they stand now. And it was really nothing more than a businessman's organization. Well, in the Great Fire of 1875, the club building, if you will, burned down. And they had to looking for some place to go. So they went to the Douglas building, which is, if you've been here, you know as it proposed to be as the Washoe Club. The building was actually built by Mr. Douglas in the 1860s. But in the upstairs area was a beautiful dance hall, open area that the Washoe Club members, which were businessman's organization, it only cost you $200 a year to be a member of it, and any local businessman that could afford that could become a member. It worked out really well because in that upstairs area of the building that most people know as the Washoe Club building, actually the Douglas building, there were some extra rooms as well as a large meeting room, which could also be used for dancing and parties, even things like ice cream socials, and was used for all sorts of different things. But there were a series of rooms that were individualized rooms, sort of like, think of them like little office spaces, where you could go in and you could smoke your cigar, read your newspaper, you could talk with your buddies, you could have a little party, you could make your stock market decisions there, have a glass of whiskey, I suppose, and any number of things. So the Washoe Club then became that area in the upstairs area of that particular building. So as you see, the fact that there were 150 millionaires really isn't actual, but there's no question about the fact that there were many individuals that made a lot of money. Of course, to make $1 million is one thing. To make thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, is another thing. And many people made hundreds of thousands of dollars. So these people that you hear of, these are the people that were very much involved in building the community, as well as investing some of their money in areas like San Francisco, buying real estate, building things like the Flood Mansion in San Francisco, the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, and so much of the real estate properties. Even a fellow by the name of Adolph Sutro, which built the Sutro Tunnel, eventually sold it, moved to San Francisco, and developed things like the railroad within San Francisco that went out to the ocean front from downtown. And there was so much activity that these fellas they couldn't get in Virginia City, so they found themselves investing and pretty much moving to San Francisco. So as you see, millionaires were not here living in Virginia City. So some of them had small homes that they stayed in when they were here working with or being involved with the mining companies they were involved with. But the important thing to remember is it's truth and it's not a myth. We try to clarify that, and that's what I hope that I've been able to clarify for you today relating to millionaires on the Comstock. So this is Joe Curtis for Virginia City Myth, no myths, only the truth, here in Virginia City. Have a great day.
Where the gold and silver beckoned, they would all get rich, they reckoned. They would strike the richest pay dirt of their lives. In Virginia City's mountain desert high, it was to Virginia City with its Comstock low discovery. Early settlers came in ragged.